So in this really quick video, we're going to sketch this scene, but we're going to make these shadows come to life with one little simple trick. You can take your shadows from flat to really beautiful, really fascinating. So stick around to the end and you will see exactly how we do that. This is something really fun, really easy to do. Takes one extra little touch in your shadows, and ta-da, we have something, instead of just flat, a shadow explaining the shape, we've got a shadow which actually sings is beautiful. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a really quick, tiny little doodle scene, really. Add our watercolours, really simply, and then we'll just add our magic touch, and you'll see the before and the after, how much of a difference it really does make to just creating a really beautiful, interesting scene. So, don't know why I'm holding a pencil, because we're actually going to use a pen, and I'm just going to draw. There's a barn in the Cotswolds we were at recently. I'm just going to draw that, and what we've got is lovely little shapes which produce lovely shadows. I'm just doing this really quickly, really loosely, and hopefully you can get the idea of what we're dealing with. So we've got this kind of big barn with lots of sides. We've got shadows and light being cast all over the place. But it's also quite a simple structure, which is why it will work really nicely for such a simple demonstration. So there you go. There's our sort of exterior bits. We've got an interior. This kind of entrance hall is, again, just filled with shadow. So how are we going to make this little shadowy image really interesting? Well, I'm going to go straight in with my watercolours, just using a nice and big brush here. And let's start with the light. So the light, we'll just use some nice sort of quinacridone colours, bit of quinacridone sienna, bit of quinacridone gold, and we'll just fill the whole building with light initially. So whenever we're starting with shadows, actually remember that underneath the shadow, this is a bonus tip, not the number one tip, it's the tip before it. Underneath the shadow is still colour. Rarely is a shadow truly black. And if you paint it as truly black, that's going to lose you a lot of that warmth and that magic. Inside, I'm going to go for a little bit of sienna because it's much more like a woody colour in there. And that will actually start our shadow process going. And just really quickly, I can blend and move that around. The top of the roof, tiny bit of indigo, and there we go. So we've got our illustration done. We've got our illustration of our barn done. Let that dry, and then we can start adding our shadows. So we are now nice and dry. So let's just start adding our shadows. And often I love just using a little bit of moon glow for the shadow. And you can see that gives us an interesting, nice colour. It will just neutralise things, but it's not that exciting. So if we just pop it on, the shadow's kind of inside here, then there's shadow on this side of the building as well, which is then casting a shadow all the way along here. And although Moonglow itself is a very lovely colour, I don't know if you agree or disagree, but would you say these shadows are super exciting? Or would you just say, you know what, they're okay. They're okay. They're not adding a huge amount there, but they're okay. No, what I would suggest, my one very simple extra touch, is take a little bit of a blue and just touch that into your shadow. And just watch as that pushes away and it creates that feeling of light within your building, within your shadow. And suddenly that shadow becomes so exciting. And I'm not sure what it is, but it's such a really lovely touch. We can keep working around our image to just add a little bit more sort of warmth in a couple of other places. And then add a bit of that blue in here as well. Perhaps a bit more moon glow to make this shadow even more pronounced inside. But just look how alive this shadow becomes just with that really simple touch. A few little splashes are always good fun. Get that texture. And there you go. That's my really quick doodle. Just showing you how, with one simple touch, a little bit of cobalt, suddenly our image, our shadows come to life. Instead of just looking flat, they come to life like magic. And I thought, since we've done this scene, if you want to see how I might finish it off, make it something really special and just keep going, let's just do it. So I'm just going to finish it. That's the tip done. That's the magic tip about the shadows. But now let's just find some more loose shapes. Apply maybe a few little brick marks, things like that onto this lovely barn. It's in the Cotswolds, so it's made of that lovely kind of Cotswold stone. So really quite just lovely textures, lovely light colours. We just find a few of these little textural marks. We can add a bit of detail back here. So this back here is actually a little wood saw. So let's find the little bits of wood in there. We can add a bit more detail to this big window. Really perhaps deepen some of this window reflection in the back. And then here we've got a couple of like trees. So we can just give them these branching patterns. This photo is actually taken in, it was in about March, I believe. So not yet any leaves on some of these trees. I'd actually surprising myself because I would have thought by then there were leaves, but no, there were no leaves. You can see it. There's total proof in my lovely little photo. And here we go. So that's all you need to do to really finish off a really quick scene like this. If you wanted maybe a little touch of greens, so I could just touch in some green here. I know there's no leaves. I've just spent ages mindlessly babbling about how there's no leaves, but it doesn't really matter if there's no leaves or not. You know, you can add these kind of touches of colour if you want, and it just explains to the viewer what's going on. Equally, I could have used a nice brown to describe a brown tree, just that I've used it elsewhere in my scene. So it would start to sort of not quite make total sense. Why is the wall the same colour as this tree? But because you know, I can, because I want to, I'm just going to instead describe them with a lovely bit of green. Same with, there's these little plants in the front. They can have a little bit of green describing them. And we can even use a little bit of our cobalt. I know we've used it in the shadows, but that doesn't mean we can't still use it elsewhere, because all that's happening with that shadow is sort of describing a reflection of light in it as well. That's why the blue, I think that's why the blue works so well. That's my sort of non-scientific impression of why it works so well anyway. And there you go. There is a really quick doodle scene, but it's not about the scene today. It's all about that shadow. It's all about using that touch of cobalt blue or touch of other blue if you don't have cobalt, but something nice, crisp and punchy. Just touching it into your shadows to make them come to life. Thank you very much for watching. Now, if you enjoy my videos, please do like and subscribe. It's a huge support to my little channel. And of course, leave a comment. Let me know your best tips for shadows, for example, or let me know something else you'd like to see a really quick tips and tricks video on in the future. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really, really happy. Thanks again.